Where's the lucky puck?
Great question.
Oh, you forgot it again? Do we have any puck on standby?
No.
This is Preston. You
got the jersey, okay? That's completely
different. My disappointment is immeasurable, and my day is ruined. I hope you know that.
And let's roll.
And that's the intro. Roll tape. That was like the one intro. That's like the one intro we did where like the episode starts now, and then that actually starts. But Kate, you want to start? You want to start us off in terms of the joke?
The joke?
The start now or like roll tape.
You can't put Katie on the spot like that.
I mean, I can't.
I'm just processing it. Let me get my brain working. Okay, and the tape starts now. Roll tape. Let's go. And go.
For one final time in season 1 from Reese Pfeiffer Hall, we've got a full desk of hosts. We're going to recap what's been a great season and a great launch of the podcast, as well as a great launch for the women's hockey scene, as well as a great season for all the other men's hockey teams here at the Capstone, discuss our favorite memories, and then give our final goodbyes. Welcome to everyone watching or listening around the world. Spencer Tomsett alongside Anna Alpern. Returning this semester, Kate Aitchison. She's back, everybody, as well as Preston McAlhany. Will Mauro, proud to be with you in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Good to see everybody. This is the first time we've been at the desk. I know Will was telling me, I think this is the first time you two are at the desk as well, which could be for better or for worse. I don't know.
I think we got one show in maybe early last semester, but happy to be sharing the desk with Katie once again.
Anytime these two get together, there's shenanigans bound to be involved. So we're gonna deal with that as we go along. But good to as well have Hannah at the desk after missing a couple of episodes here and there. But I was looking back at the Frozen Hour Instagram and saw the highlight we had of you asking a question to Joe, and it was one of those moments of like, that's Hannah, but I needed to add more highlights and things in there for questions and things. But Preston also back at the desk. He forgot the lucky puck, ladies and gentlemen.
Oops.
For 2 episodes in a row. What was that voice? What was that? That is one of those
timing, Spencer.
Was that Urkel? Did I forget the lucky puck? I can't do Urkel. I'm not going to try.
But Preston back. We have a full slate of guests because this is the finale. It's bittersweet to think about when we launched this podcast. Remember that cramped room we had for the first...
We didn't even air that episode.
No. That will never air and will never make it to any sort of thing. But we had that cramped room when everybody else couldn't show up, and then we found our home in the hidden gem of Reese Pfeiffer Hall for this episode. And a lot of fun. Good to have everybody at the desk. Good to have a kind of finale and go from things here. As you guys have already seen from the previous week, we had a great interview with Savannah Prefontaine and Caitlin Manning. A great chance to talk with them about the transition for Grow the Game and the next steps and the next phase of the program. And now we get a chance to conclude the Frozen Hour for the first year. As I mentioned, Will, bittersweet. A lot of emotions probably running through. I know you said your emotions were already out from All-Star Weekend, and we'll get to talk a little bit about that on memories and everything, but kind of bittersweet that we're at the finish line.
Absolutely. I mean, I got it all out in the broadcast booth after that last women's All-Star game. It is absolutely bittersweet, Spencer, to be wrapping up such an incredible journey with these teams. It's been so great watching these programs grow, and I'm honored to have gotten to be a part of it.
Will is the first guy I had to have a full box of Kleenex on standby for the emotions that were running through him and everything. But
can you blame me? Come on now.
I mean, we can. It doesn't mean we're justified, but we can blame you, absolutely. But Kate, I know scheduling conflicts didn't allow you to be on the podcast this semester, but still something that I know you've been supporting from behind the scenes. You were a part of the On Location show and got to be a part of that. But I know bittersweet for you as well to say goodbye to the Frozen Hour.
Yeah, I think it's incredible. I have been really honored to have the opportunity to work on the episodes that I have, and I think bittersweet. I know we're all ready to get out of here. I know we're all ecstatic to start our careers, but it's bittersweet to leave where you learned all of the things you know, and I've learned a lot sitting at this table. So I'm just grateful to have worked on this podcast with this team. The live show was incredible. It's one of my favorite things I've done, and I sad to be leaving it, excited to see where I go next.
Preston, hard to think like from that lunch we had at Buffalo Phil's at the beginning of the year where you and I started talking and and kind of getting the mesh and gel on the broadcast side for us to get to this point, where we are. And I know it's especially bittersweet for you because you had your final Bama football experience with A-Day, if you can even call it a football experience because of the change format and everything, but it has to be bittersweet for you as you wrap up your time at the capstone.
It really is, and I think one of the things that I really loved about this whole season is I did learn a lot. You know, when we had that lunch at Buffalo Fields, I remember meeting you and hearing your voice for the first time, being like, "Oh man, this is the guy I'm with all season." No.
Same thing with you too. I'm like, man, I have to compete with this baritone. Like, I was like, how am I going to compete with that?
But yeah, man, what a season we've had. What a season the girls have had. It's been such a great learning experience for me, actually being a part of a broadcast team for the first time, really, aside from stuff I've done on the radio. So I had a ton of fun, and to answer that question, yes, I would absolutely consider A-Day to be the football experience, no matter what the format is, because I'm roll tide or die, baby.
Now, I know Kate mentioned that a lot of us are excited to start our careers and move on to the next phase. Hannah's got a couple of years until she has to worry about that, fortunately. But I know we're having kind of Publishers Clearinghouse is what we've joked about with the media side because of a lot of us being seniors and graduating. But I know Hannah, at least from not just the social media side of handling the posts and getting things out and everything, and the on-ice interviews as well, that you've enjoyed your first experience in the hockey scene as well.
Yeah, I mean, this has been my first experience being in a position in my career where I feel like I'm gaining like real experience outside of the classroom, and so that to me has just been so rewarding in itself, and I'm excited to continue to work with these teams and the podcast in the years to come and get even more experience before going out in my real career.
Yeah, when you've got several years to be able to fine-tune those skills. Not that they're not fine-tuned already, but you get to add more layers and depth to that resume as well. The rest of us, we got to figure something out. We got to try and figure something out.
I just want to compliment you, Hannah, because I forget, clearly right now, I forget all the time that you're not a senior and you've stepped into this first role and really just looked so comfortable. I feel like sometimes I'm more nervous than you are, and so it's been good to see your first experience. It took me weeks to even hear about that you're not a senior and this is your first experience, and you just looked so natural and comfortable, and you did a really good job stepping up to the plate. So I just want to compliment you. You're going to go far. You have a few more years to go even farther.
Yes.
Excited to watch
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I mean, like this like team and being a part of working with the women's team, but also working with the podcast has been honestly one of like my favorite parts of my collegiate career so far, and that's just something that I'm never going to forget, and I'm never going to forget the first time that we turned on the camera and we're like, okay, like let's just talk about hockey and record it and see if people enjoy it.
Now, we're going to get into a lot of shout-outs and a lot of favorite memories of things, but big shout-out to Hannah for running the entire social media side this year and running all the posts and putting up with my like 1 or 2 in the morning texts of like, hey, we got a highlight change, we got to do this, here's this kind of stuff. You're probably asleep and didn't even wake up from the text or anything, but shout out to Hannah for taking that on, especially when it was thrown on her last second too, because the social media team with the women's hockey side worked so hard, and Savannah essentially said, hey, I don't want to overwhelm the team anymore. I think we need to get someone for this. I'm like, well, if we're getting a co-host, how about Hannah does it? And as you know, Savannah with the idea, hi. And then, hi, would you like to do social media for the podcast? Sure. And then it just goes from there. She ropes you in and gets you in from there. But a shout out to Hannah Alpern on the great work she has done for social media this year. Still, as of recording this, she's still got some stuff to do and post on those things. But but it's been great to see. So, favorite memories from this year. I know there's a lot of them, a lot of the conversations and the memories we've been able to form for a lot of different things. I know, Kate, you already alluded to it, and I'm sure you have some other ones you can reflect on, but you mentioned the remote show was one of the things that stuck out in your mind, so give you the chance to reflect on that. Any other sort of favorite memories that stick out from you on this year?
Yeah, the remote show was super cool because I had experience working with that team and a lot of the people before on broadcast and other things, and broadcasts are a whole other level of high where it is so stressful and so go trying to figure everything out, and then you get that flood of like, oh my gosh, I just did that, like it feels so good. The live show is a little different because it was just so much fun. I had the opportunity to go. It almost felt like just going out for an event with the people I worked with. We had so much fun. We got to try so much good food, and I got the opportunity to have creative freedom over my content, and that was super cool. I love that. I think I was able to take that into my sidelining for my other favorite memory of when I sideline or when I do anything in sports media. My favorite part of it is telling a story and giving a face to the people and giving athletes a humanity aspect and showing that they're real people. And I was able to take that creative freedom into my interview skills. So my other favorite memory was this past weekend at the All-Star game, just giving the seniors especially, but all of these girls the opportunity to sit and tell their story, and me being able to walk around, talk to them, their parents, their coaches, and tell stories. Those were my favorite parts.
How dare you not mention you said great food, the margaritas that we were tasting.
I was trying to be professional, okay? I was trying to be professional. The margaritas went so hard. The food was good. Best margarita I've had in my entire life. I had so much fun. I was very sober and professional the whole time, and at the end, it got a little silly. It was so much fun.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned this off the air, in case it hasn't been said on the podcast before. So we're about 30 minutes before, and as Kate mentioned, when you have these live shows and coordinated things, you're just running around trying to make sure all the equipment's good, everything's up and running. We're 30 minutes before, and by the way, shout out as well to Theodore Fernandez, Riley Mercer, Eleanor Rodhouse, the rest of the people who were. I know Annie Sakalis is behind the scenes as well. Same with Jaden Watson wasn't able to be there, but everybody who made that remote show come to full fruition was just incredible. But 30 minutes beforehand, Giovanni Gomez, the partial owner of the Jalapenos brand, comes up to us and says, "Margaritas, anybody?"
And I was the first one that said, "Yes,
your
sir."
hand straight up, Riley's hand straight up, Eleanor straight up. Emma Curl as well.
Oh,
great work she did, and her hand was also
so
up.
good.
And of course, all the girls' hands up immediately, and then Will goes, "Wait, what's going on, margaritas?" Woo!
A little late on the draw. I was pretty locked in.
Hannah, it was filled with jealousy the moment we told her about everything, because she couldn't make it that night, but she got to see the help with the social media side, gather everybody's footage and everything. But yeah, that remote show was a labor of love to pull off.
It was so fun to pull everything off and do. I've never done anything like that. I know Spencer really produced it and really put it together. And I know that was one of the first. He's done a lot of projects. That was a new learning experience for him to do. It was so much work to put together. It was so cool to pull off something like that. I never would have imagined I could pull off something like that in this state of my career. And the margarita just made it so much better. It was like a party. It was 30 minutes of hard work setting up, and then it was like a party the rest of the time. Could not ask for a better first live show.
Preston, the only thing that you did not fulfill, which maybe you'll fulfill at some point when you come back to the capstone, Anya Laxton mentioned something about you giving a locker room pep talk in the full Bama suit and everything. That never came to fruition from the podcast. Now, granted, you were not on the road crew for Athens for the CHS playoffs, but I have a feeling that might come up at some point, because I know you're going to be back to Alabama in some capacity, but that'd be great if you could get the full suit, trilby, and everything and go motivate the girls for a game.
Oh, yeah, and see, I'm not just going to be, coming back to Alabama every now and then. I want to come back here a lot, not just to support all the NCAA D1 athletics, but for all these club sports that I've come to love since my time here, and especially women's hockey. So, Coach Laxton, you need a hype man. Hit me up. I've got everything you need for that, so...
But continuing on that front, I know especially this was one of your first live sports experiences and getting immersed in that on-air reps. I know you did that a little bit with high school sports updates throughout your time here at the Capstone, but what memories stick out in your mind as ones that you'll take with you?
I think it'll probably be the first one or two games we did where I was really trying to figure out the ebb and flow of things, and there was a lot of times where I would try to speak, and then you would speak, and then it was just like, oh, my bad, you speak. So a lot of like beginner mistakes because I didn't quite have the flow to it down. But over time, I think we figured it out. And then, when we were in Jacksonville for the Nationals, I felt like it really culminated into this thing where it's like, hey, we can deliver a broadcast, and I know when to shut up. So, it was really fun. It was just a great learning experience all season. I'm really glad to have been a part of it.
We never had any of those moments, right?
Oh,
not once. Not once did we ever step on each other's toes or have any sort of issues like that. But no, shout out to Preston as well. Going down to Jacksonville, working with the AAU side for writing and covering things for the women's teams, but not even expecting to get any on-air roles. And that was a shout out to my LI Sports Network family, Michael Brown and all those great people where they're like, hey, we have your games you're calling. A lot of us are stretched in. I'm like, hey, Preston McAlhany, he was my color guy. He'd be good. He could fill in stuff. They're like, yeah, see if he's willing to do it. I texted you, and you're just like, yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, just say less. And it also gave you, because you're writing the articles there. It's the same thing with Danny Baum at CHS. He was running scoreboard or camera or other roles, and he was still, that actually helped him to be able to watch those games and see live what was going on to formulate more of those stories. And I don't know if you felt that same sentiment of that while you were calling games. You thought, okay, here's a storyline I can talk about. Here's some things I can do in my articles.
Yeah, and that was the thing, right? I was sent there specifically to cover the women's stuff from Nationals. And you're like, hey, you want to get on the broadcast for the Bama game? And I'm like, yeah, this is a team I've been following all season. It's a team I can see in person, and get a better idea of what's going on. Because it's one thing, right, to watch the game just like from behind the plexiglass. It's a whole other thing to hear you calling it, and I can get a more in-depth detail of what's actually happening and who's doing what. So not only am I doing color for it, but that's helping me remember certain aspects for my writing. So that definitely helped a ton.
Had to be fun when we got to call that one Bama-Tampa game between the benches, right?
Oh, man, yeah. Between the shouting going on both sides, that was a fun game.
I had one game where I was working camera ops. I think it was South Carolina and not Farmingdale, because that was the that was the playing game. It was South Carolina and Binghamton, maybe something like that. But I was on camera, and for those of you who don't know, they had a scissor lift where we had the camera stuff. I could hear everything on those benches. You could hear all the chirps and everything. There was once a shouting match between the benches where they're throwing expletives and everything. You would have a field day, because I know you love camera dogs.
I love stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that was a lot of fun, and just hearing, because you already have this physicality and aggression with hockey, but just hearing that for a full game was really fun. So. But going on that front, Hannah, I know that especially you have a different perspective because you got to do interviews and be sort of in the locker room during the games and everything. So which memories stick out in your mind from this year?
For me personally, it was one of my interviews with Sammy Lance after a game.
Oh, yeah.
We were doing an interview on the bench post-game, and like Kate said, like one of my favorite parts about being a sideline reporter and rinkside reporter for these teams is being able to tell these girls stories off the rink, because like I've said before, and I'll say it again, they're some of the nicest girls off the rink, but once they get on that rink, it's a whole different person.
I love it. It's the best thing. It's my favorite thing about women's sports. It's all love. It's all love and support, and it's all woman for woman, and I love it. And then you get on the ice, and it's competition to its core, and I love that about it. The duality goes so hard.
Oh, it's the best. So I was doing an interview with Sammy, and the owner of the rink comes up behind our interview, and the interview is published on the Instagram, but it's the owner of the rink is comes up, and he doesn't realize we're filming an interview. He's like, my bad, oops, and just kind of tiptoes off the background. And that was just a fun little memory, because I know going down the road in the future there's going to be more of that, but it's honestly keeping the professionalism that you have on camera, and whether something like that happens and it catches your attention, you just have to keep going with it. But also for the podcast specifically, I think my favorite episode we've done personally that I had the most fun on was with Joe Hughes.
Oh yeah.
It was just such a fun, lighthearted episode, hearing about his past and how it got him here and what skills he carries from working at the deli back in New York to now being the goalie of the D1 team. I think that's just so cool, and was something, his story just really stuck out to me.
Yeah. I tell you, the interviews as well were fantastic to witness, because you just have a talent for getting the best out of people and giving the right questions to everybody. And it was another one of those, as you both mentioned, of the human side of where you try to tell these girls' stories and everything. I've mentioned it before, Morgan Grisbowski, kindest person you got off the ice. But once you start getting into the game, you talk to any other players around the CHS, they're like, I don't want to play against Morgan.
No, she's
I don't want to play against her.
That's the best example of that duality. She's the personification of the kindness, warm-hearted off the ice, and on the ice she's there to play. I love watching her. I love watching her.
And no one more fitting to be the next president for the student organization side as well. And Morgan, she's going to succeed that role very well. And I know next year she is planning to be on the podcast. We tried to get her on in some capacity, but she recording time, she just couldn't make it work. But I know that she's excited to get on the Frozen Hour at least at some point. But shout out as well to the Lance family on the amount of stories they get. I need to watch my blood sugar levels because of the amount of cookies that they gave us throughout the season.
So good.
It's such good cookies. And the amount of times she would come up and be like, look, I have too many. Take them. Take as many. Take 2, 3, take all of these. And hearing the story, I still remember you were talking about this during All-Star Weekend and some of the other playoffs, in that and that Sammy was very, it was funny because her mom was telling stories about certain things, and Sammy was always saying, well, she left out the cool parts. And then when we ask her the other things, it's like, no, but you're humble. You're leaving these things out. And seeing that dynamic was so fun.
I can't talk enough good things about the Lance family. I've been a huge Sammy Lance fan, as everybody else is, this whole season. She's incredible on the ice. And this weekend, while I was sidelining for the All-Star game, I had the opportunity, I was walking around talking to parents, and Sammy Lance's mom had so many stories for me. She told me all about playing hockey as a 10-year-old little girl in the broom closet and just wanting to be a hockey player. And she played, when Sammy Lance was 10 years old, she was playing up with high schoolers, which I thought, that is incredible. She played so well. She got several D1 offers, and she just fell in love with Alabama and came here to build the program. And I think that is so admirable, to go where you think you fit as a person and just do the sport you love with the people you love. She is incredibly admirable. And exactly, I was talking to all of them, and Sammy was like, well, my mom never tells the good stories. Like, I was like, no, Sammy, you don't tell the good stories. Your mom was telling me everything I wanted to know all season. And she's like, well, she doesn't talk about when I fall flat on my face. That's the best part.
Yeah, and I'm just impressed as well how many freshmen we have on this women team too. Like Sammy's a freshman, Claire is a freshman, Anna Zahorchak is a freshman.
Incredible.
Like, the future is so bright.
The future
for this
is
team.
so bright. They're such incredible athletes, and it's only going to grow. And the team camaraderie, we've talked about it all season. It's incredible, and it's only going to grow, especially under the leadership of Morgan Grabowski. I cannot wait to see her leadership flourish. She has had a really good grip on these girls in this group, and just really including everyone and keeping that camaraderie flowing. And I can't imagine, like, it's just going to get better up from here. And they already came and showed out for their inaugural season, and I can't imagine they're not going to be scary for the rest of, well, these girls are here at least.
Oh yeah, it's going to be incredible. So Will, I know we have talked about this a lot in terms of the memories that have stuck out in your mind and the waterworks that sort of started in the last couple of weeks, but I know I already think of several that I could mention that we've had together throughout the season. But what, from your own words, what would you say stuck out most in your mind as things you'll take with you?
It's so hard to pick like a specific favorite memory of this season, just because it's been such an incredible experience being able to stretch my legs in the broadcast sphere. I never really thought that would be something I would get the opportunity to do, not being a part of Crimson Tide Productions or WVUA or anything like that on campus. So being able to work with these teams and kind of pave my own path in terms of sports media through them has been such an honor. If I'm going favorite moment, it's really hard not to think about that CHS championship for Alabama women's team. It was unbelievable being up in the booth for that, being able to shout out the incredible efforts of Savannah Prefontaine and Anya Laxton throughout the season, and Kira Duffany is the captain of that squad. And it was great seeing that all come full circle. It was really an honor to be able to call that.
Yeah, I reflect a lot of pretty much all the sentiments you guys have about telling the stories of these athletes. I also love the remote show and how tough it was to pull it off. I also love where we had the cup here for the Frozen Hour show, and I tell you, the only thing I didn't like was the smell of that cup. Like, Kira told me before the show, she's like, I tried to clean it out for you. I sniffed it. It smelled like a Long Island went bad. Like
with a mix of onions.
The mix of. I love that story too about the onions in the hotel room. It's just out of all the teams, out of all the people, for something like that to happen with just the onions to be in the hotel room, like that's one of those where like it's just a happenstance or just something happens. Like it would and now I wonder where those onions are. I think Kira said they're in her freezer. Like they were there, which unfortunately they didn't help with nationals, which it would have been great if they did. But it was like having the cup and also them trusting me to bring it up to Huntsville for the WAFF 48 show in Tennessee Valley Living. That was a lot of fun too, and it was just. That cup is just a symbolism of their efforts paying off. I know nationals didn't go the way they wanted to, but to be able to at least get some sort of trophy and some sort of title in their first season and be able to pull it off was incredible to witness. And how about just in general getting to interview so many different people from around the hockey scene in this podcast this year too. Like I know that you guys weren't on the show because if I had known we could do this setup, I would have had another host on it, but getting to interview Natalie Pizza, Maddie Bloom, as well as Kate Manning earlier on in the season to talk about their journey was also great to see the other side of the hockey scenes. And I know Will was disappointed in that. So we were preparing for the last episode, and when we were recapping the off season with just us three, and well, not the offseason, but recapping our break in March. And he looked, I had on my notes where I was starting to clear off things because I usually keep the notes. And I had the note of the favorite deli sandwich. And he looks, he's like, is that not the odd topic for today? I'm like, no, unfortunately it's not, because we had the deli episode earlier, so he was disappointed. But that Joe was just one of those guests, like, I know we were trying to get him on throughout the entire year as well, and finally getting the chance to talk with him and hear his story about, and so many of the hockey players that are here on campus come from the Northeast or from hockey areas and such, but I know sometimes there's the perspective that sometimes New Yorkers are rough around the edges. Not the case with Joe.
No, and I think sometimes, like, I feel like athletes can be a little hesitant on answering questions on camera, and they're like, I don't know what to say and anything, but he was so natural, I felt, and was just so authentic with his answers and questions we had for him and sharing his story, which I think was honestly what added so much to that episode, was just him being completely comfortable, completely authentic, and just being able to talk to us like we were just having a normal conversation.
This weekend, I was his Uber driver, actually. I picked him up from one of the, so there were a bunch of parties for A-Day, and I picked him up, it was off of Frat Row or something. He jumps in the passenger seat. He's like, "What's up, Spence?" and all that. So, I've had that happen with him and some other hockey folks. Things like I know I was an Uber driver for Britton Tebby at one point, but it was so fun to like reconnect with them and talk, just re-talk and everything. So
another great guest we had on recently, Britton Tebby. That was a great episode.
Yeah. No, that was great for us to have that conversation with him too, to get to see his perspective and everything. And I know that you said you and him are buddies now.
I'd like to think so, Tebs. I think I owe you a red stripe, buddy. We'll get out to the bars one day soon.
Well, it also helps because of you formerly playing hockey, and you're able to, and that's the thing that Preston and I have talked about, is that you just can't replace that game knowledge or like understanding, being able to talk puck. And you and Britton really connected on that level, and to be able to see you guys just go back and forth. It was basically like Brian Boucher and Eddie Olczyk when they're talking back and forth on the TNT broadcast. I'm sure that was really fulfilling for you on our last episode.
It was great. I'm glad I got the opportunity to talk with him. I had so many more questions that would have just sent the podcast way over time. His journey from playing with the D3 men's team to actually taking up the coaching mantle with the women's team as an assistant. And I that's been a part of my journey for a long time, is like having played hockey. That's the one sport I really connected with growing up. And I've always thought about the prospect of coaching down the line, so I definitely have more questions for Teb about that in the future.
Now, I will say we have inspired a hockey fan at the table now, because I know Preston was not really, because you think traditionally raised in Alabama, not as much on the hockey side, because there are minor league teams that are here, but you didn't really have a sense of hockey or fan or not. But now you've been bit by the hockey bug, because now you're regularly going to Birmingham Bulls games.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? For me, when you put a sport in front of me, I'm always willing to learn it, and that was definitely the case for hockey. Once I figured it out, I was like, okay, I like this. And that was the thing, right? Going in, I knew it was a very chippy sport. I knew that it had a reputation for being chippy. I did not know that in professional levels, fights were just straight up illegal. I didn't know that. They could just draw the gloves and go to town. So I didn't know that. So after figuring that out, watching a game live and stuff, I was like, okay, cool. So now when I'm scrolling mindlessly through, ESPN and stuff on TV, and I'm doom scrolling on YouTube TV, I can just select an NHL game. I have no dog in the fight, but I'm watching it because that's hockey content, and that's something I want to watch now. So I get more fixes every year. Something else is added to my sporting interests, and my off season shortens every time. Every time, because it's
a pretty good feeling.
Yeah, there's always something new, and I'm like, okay. So I've been loving the SPHL and the Birmingham Bulls. They've been playing through that. They're in the playoffs right now.
Oh, nice.
They just won their game against Fayetteville. So yeah, I can say I love the sport of hockey now. That's for sure.
Kate, I know you said you were bit by the hockey bug this year, and I know you started laughing when you mentioned the fighting side of everything, and you mentioned the physicality with the women's teams as well. Seeing the fight side of it, there's just something different about. Like I know in several states boxing is sanctioned where you could legally kill someone and not get in trouble for it with punching somebody out, but hockey is another one of those sports. I would love to see in football if they would allow fist fights.
Yeah.
Like, not to a certain extent where you're just have a death wish for somebody, but I would love to see that sort of fight to happen in those. And hockey is just really special when you get to see that happen.
I've always loved how scrappy hockey is. Me and Will talk about all the time. Best sport in the world. It's the most entertaining watch. Best sport in the world. It's so fast paced. It's so scrappy. I love that they can throw the gloves. It's sick, dude. Like, I think every sport, and there is a cap on it. You can't just, beat someone to the ground. But I would love to see that in more sports. I love it so much. I think that's what contact sports are supposed to be. And I love how hockey is not a contact sport, but it is. It's both. It's both at the same time. Love it so much. I was bit by the hockey bug when I was born because I am Canadian, and it just runs through my veins. And I have been able to get much more into it this year working with the team, and I didn't think I could love it more, but by golly, I do. Even the women's, when they can't drop the gloves, by golly, I love it.
There was, in Nationals, we were taking a break in between one of the games, and we were watching the D1 Alabama men's team was facing off against South Carolina. And as you all know, whenever South Carolina, it's just something about the South Carolina Gamecocks where they're more scrappy, they're more aggressive, they're more physical. And we started getting towards, what was it, like not even like 2 minutes left in the game.
It was like 14 seconds.
Yeah, 14 seconds, and full-on fist fights start breaking out between the two. Like, it started spilling over anything. And I remember looking out at the fights that were going on. I'm like, Kate would love this. Will would love this.
Everyone knows me and will love the scrappy.
They would love seeing the fist fights and everything. And I would honestly not be surprised if Will started going out there. He put on skates and gloves and started
jump
going
in
down.
myself.
He just puts on a Bama jersey and he's like, let's go.
I got one right here with my name on it. Little souvenir.
But you could just head onto the ice and participate in that physicality. But we mentioned a lot about the women's team doing really great in the season. The Division I men's team had their respective run trying to get something going through all of the setbacks they had with the bus issues on the AAU side, and managed to have at least a decent run in nationals and try to fight as hard as they could. The Division III team did not make it to nationals, but they also tried to have their respective. I remember you and Emma got to talk with TJ Lancaster and several players during the remote show, and it's always interesting when you have a season that doesn't go the way that you want it to, for the players and coaches to still have this mindset of, well, what did we do right? What steps did we take to get to the next level and prepare ourselves in the right moments? And I know when you got to talk with them at Jalapenos, you really seemed to get that sentiment of they're going in the right direction.
Absolutely. There's a lot to build on here with these young programs, and obviously it's not always going to go as great as it did for the women's team winning the CHS championship in their inaugural year. But that is the focus of especially club hockey, is just building the sport and really building that team camaraderie. And I think we got a lot of that from the guys I got to interview. They were really preaching that continue to play hard despite the results, the forecheck, backcheck, paycheck mentality that we love so much here on the Alabama Frozen Hour podcast. So yeah, that's really unbelievable to see the growth from these younger organizations.
Yeah, same with the Aitchison team too, where they've been around for a couple years, and now I know that they're moving up to that NCAA new conference and everything. But if Theodore were here, I know he would talk a lot about conversations he got to have with Will Zeke, as well as Coach Fairbanks, and the work that they got to do. And I just love the remote show and being able to talk to all those players and bring in so many people from the community and have those conversations. That was a fun time, and really a great showing by all the teams this year through the circumstances that they had. And obviously the women's team has set the standard high now with them only taking one season to get a conference championship and still try to perform as best as they could in nationals. They've set the bar high, as we tried to set the bar high with this podcast. Still plenty of work to do, and I know there will be a lot of others that'll build off of what we've been able to accomplish this year. But a different kind of odd topic this time around. Usually we have something, far out there, not deli sandwiches. I'm sorry, Will.
I went to Jersey Mike's for 2 years. Where was I on that show?
Do not talk
Come on now.
Yeah, Joe Hughes would be disappointed because he said Jersey Mike's is not authentic.
He said it's not real.
Yeah, he said it's not real. You might have some
I've got words for Joe. We're going to have this conversation after the show.
Well, he runs a family deli, though. So, I mean,
I was going to say, I don't think you have any words to say.
No,
that's actually totally fair.
He has words to say. Joe will throw the gloves. He's also a goaltender, so he's more padded up.
Oh, he's ready to go. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Meet him at center ice. Fantastic. Love this discussion.
I still love the goaltender fight sometimes. I think we talked about this where you have them both sides. They're like, you want to go? The other one's like, all right, you go. Throw the gloves and just charge down the ice at each other.
They're both figuring out, are you going to drop the gloves first? Am I going to drop the gloves first?
It's like
Nobody
a
wants to
sumo
take
wrestling match at center ice. Just like,
Together, yeah.
Oh, goodness. But on that, our odd topic is going to be the most funny moment during the year, and it can't be this conversation. But we've had a lot of laughs in front of the camera, behind the camera. There's been a lot of great moments of laughing spells. So I'll start with you, Kate. What stands out to you as the most funny moment you've had on the season?
I'm having a hard time coming up with just one, but the place where the funniest moments happened was I love nothing more than getting to wear a headset and being a camera op or whatever position I am with a headset.
Yeah.
I've had some of my hardest laughs in my life in this season just from things over the headset. We get a little punchy at the end of our 14-hour days, and for like me and Will specifically and some of our other colleagues, we have the best jokes come out over the headsets. Anything that happens, someone always has jokes, and we're just yapping the whole time while doing our job. That always ends up being the funniest moments from the weekends.
Shout out to James Shannon and Eli Cornett, our other production guys and camera ops. During the skills challenges on All-Star, I was running the producer side, so I was listening to the broadcasters between you and Charlie Seraphim were doing the women's skills, and then it was Brady Palmer from Middle Tennessee and Charlie doing the men's challenges. And at one point, James is running the camera ops, and I just have my ear up, and I hear him ask something of like, okay, favorite soup. Or he's like asking stuff. I'm like, are we at that point of the skills challenge where you're just talking about food?
Dude, we just like shout out to Eleanor Roadhouse because she always is singing over, and then Chloe Rigdon always has jokes, and then James always has jokes. Everyone just has something to say, and it always is funny, and it gets me through those days.
Yeah, especially the longer hours. Now, All-Star Weekend wasn't as challenging because we just had the couple of events that were a few hours, but some of those long days in Florida when we did the high school football tournaments, those ones were rough. Same with Athens too, of just the long days on the one sheet of ice and everything.
It gets a little punchy. I can't say it for legal reasons on recording, but there's been some funny things said that stay on the headsets.
Off the recording, ask her about the Aitchison Accords.
Oh, God.
She'll tell you about those ones. So, Hannah, any funny moments that stick out in your mind on this year?
I think the funniest moment, like in the moment, this was not funny, but it was our first recording that never aired because we were like just crammed in that little room, and it was Spencer and I just trying to make small talk over, like we really hadn't figured each other out yet in our communications yet. And so that was like looking back at it, and like you sent me that episode, and I was like, oh, I hope this never sees any more.
It never did. Partially because we were supposed to have the full hosts on, and we hadn't figured out what room we were supposed to rent, so we just kind of made do with what we have because Preston wasn't able to be there. Kate was an emergency. We hadn't gotten Will yet on the podcast hosting side, and it was just one of those. Not only that was the week of when we recorded that. The next week we were going to publish it was Ryan Williams coming to the games and everything, and that's when Savannah had said, "Hey, we're not posting anything else except promoting this. We'll do it next week." And I'm like, "All right, let's just strap and move on and go from there." And we figured things out from that point. But yeah, that was one of those like, all right, Hannah, let's try to make this work. And it was in the moment it was not funny, but going back and looking back, it's like ha ha. That's
like,
what we call it.
Look how far we've come.
Oh yeah, look how far we've evolved at this point.
Right.
So all right, Preston, what stands out in your mind as funny moments?
I think the funniest moments have just been the car rides.
Oh,
Me and you heading up to Pelham.
Yeah.
I like to start a lot of conversations that really just do not pertain to the job at hand.
Yeah.
And a lot of conversations that kind of kill the vibe a little bit, where I'll just say something and I'll get a
Suddenly the whole car goes silent.
Yeah. And to me, it's the funniest thing ever. But to everyone, and then like we laugh about it later. But then in the heat of the moment, it's like, what did you just say?
Clark just brings out what Preston's laughs. He's 30 seconds for the rest of us to get on topic with the joke.
I completely forgot about that because again, an hour drive to Pelham and an hour drive back. We had that several times throughout the year, and there were a lot of those moments with Preston where he would just either that or he'd show some meme to the rest of the people in the car. car as well. I know that you were in those car rides. Will was at times. Kate. We also had like either Annie or Jaden who were in the car. And Jaden on the other side of the camera, he's also one of those more reserved people, more quiet. But whenever you got a laugh out of Jaden, that's when you knew you were doing something right. But yeah, that's man, I forgot about those cars. I remember one time we were driving up, and you had said you hadn't eaten in like 3 days because like your paycheck or something, and you were starting to go loopy on some things. And I'm like, okay, I feel guilty about this. We're going to McDonald's like right next, and that was the other funny part. So this was when I needed to realize, hey, the arena does not allow you to have outside food or drink.
Whoops.
My stupid self, we walked up with a McDonald's bag and drinks right up to the concession stand, and he mentioned, the guy who was on the concession, he shakes his head, just looks disappointed, and the one lady comes out and is like, you can't have that in here, you need to get out. And we stepped out and went to the picnic bench and ate everything out in the blazing heat of Alabama, which that was a lesson learned on that moment. But he ate. He ate, and he at least got to get some food in his stomach and everything, so that was fun. So, Will, funny moments on the year for you.
Oh, my goodness. Well, you brought up our colleague and good buddy from the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, Charlie Sarafian, earlier.
Great dude.
How am I not going to mention this? We've, throughout the CHS playoffs and the All-Star weekend, Charlie and I got the chance to call a couple games together, and man, it is all laughs in the booth when we're up there. He said something along the lines of, there was a great All-Star game of the women's second game where Paige Ukes ripped a beautiful shot from the slot. It was a great call.
Yeah.
And Charlie wraps it up by going, they call her Paige Ukes because that is her name.
Yeah, I almost died at that point. He's like, they call her Paige Ukes because that is her name. And I'm just,
One of the funniest guys I've ever met. He's so natural in the broadcast booth. So funny.
Katie and I were talking about this. We were reviewing some game footage the other night from Charlie and I's call of that women's game, and we were talking about how frequently we went to that call of the juice is loose for Sammy Lance.
I should not have set that up.
Beat that one to death a little bit, but
yeah.
Absolutely.
So for context on that, again, we talked about Sammy Lance's mom, and this originated in nationals because Sammy had not, like, I was on call for all of the Alabama women's games, and I was waiting for Sammy to get on a breakaway. And we get in the third game, I'm like, okay, this is the final game. There's going to be something. And I have in the back of my mind where I think about calls and like certain things I want to do. And I'm like, you know what? I got to integrate something with her, with the Tropicana juice. I'm like, if Sammy Lance gets on a breakaway and scores a goal, the juice is loose is what I'm going to do. And so I told, I think it was between like the second and third period. I saw, again, this was in Jacksonville. And I said that to Sammy's mom and was like, hey, just be mindful. I might use this if it comes up. And then third period passed by. She didn't get on a breakaway, so I'm like, wasted opportunity. And she came up to me afterwards and was like, hey, was the juice loose? I'm like, no. I didn't have anything to call. And so then we get to All-Star Weekend, which I didn't know if I was going to be there or not. And then lo and behold, I was on assignment for it. And we get in between the first and second period of the, I think it was the first women's game that Charlie was calling. And I bump into Sammy's mom again, and she says, hey, is the juice loose? I'm like, well, I'm not calling the game, but I'll say something to Charlie. And so I told them right before they put their headsets on, I was like, yo, here's the context, the setting. Charlie had no clue. He had no clue about the Tropicana juice or anything. He's like, oh, now that makes sense. Now I know what's going on. And yeah, I probably should have held that for a little bit because you guys used it a whole bunch. He kept saying the juice is loose, and then you addressed it on the last episode.
It's not our fault the juice kept getting loose, Spencer.
Yeah. Well, then you addressed it with the goaltender, where the one goal is like, I'm not sure which is more loose, Sammy or the 5-hole, the goaltender, because the amount of times that Sammy was sneaking the puck past through.
Again, so. Morgan Scola, if you're seeing this, it was too good in the moment. I had to. Yeah. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
But I was saying, again, Kate and I were watching some game footage the other night, and I was saying you can tell the difference between my broadcast laugh and my real laugh, and I let a few real laughs fly on that one. That was a lot of fun calling this All-Star weekend.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, an All-Star challenge, as well as I quote John Strong in that, at least on my end, it's the games become a blur. It's the relationships and the memories you get to build with other people. I loved going to Buffalo Wild Wings with you guys after the games on Saturday, where we got to watch the Final Four. Got to go up to Clarksville, even in basically a tornado warning in Nashville.
I was not invited.
Yeah, well, Well,
Still
you
upset.
were asleep. You were asleep. We didn't want to wake you up, and it didn't.
I've been warned on threat of death never to wake you up if you're sleeping, so I took that one to heart. And
we all took
just
it to
let
heart
you
on that
go.
one.
Well, everyone knows about me is don't wake me up from my sleep, but don't let me go hungry either. I've been 48 hours since I ate. Both are bad.
It was a lesser of two evils, and we chose the former.
chose the
instead of
wrong
the
one.
latter.
I'll
Somebody
complain
take
about it
this
for the
woman to
rest of my
McDonald's.
life. No, right?
Say it again.
Somebody take this woman
No,
to
they
McDonald's.
chose the lesser of two evils, and they'll never hear the end of it.
No, what we never will. She'll always give us crap for it. But no, but watching the Final Four with like you, Eli, Danny, and such, that was fun. Like some of the after games. I know we had long days in Athens, but like the times where we had in between games to get to watch stuff. As much as it's a meme and kind of cringe at this point, but Baba Booey from this guy several times is always bringing the meme back from the dead was also fun too. The amount of like laughter and conversations we've had in these, not because she's on the other side of the camera, but I love the episode with Mia Perez, like that interview we got to do with her was
my
funny.
favorite.
The Mia show and how you
Mia
two
show.
ganged up on me for not liking Hallmark films, like that was. That was a lot of fun, and just getting to interact with so many people who I quote Danny Baum on this because I sent him our like group photos and things when we were done with the broadcast, and he mentioned that when you get to work along people who are just as passionate as you are about what they do in this industry, that really energizes you and ignites you to continue going, and especially for the amount of long hours Danny was pulling, like man, that he's one of the hardest working people around the college hockey scene. Like the amount of times I've seen him up until like 2 or 3 in the morning, and now I'm concerned for his cardiac health because of him chugging several Celsiuses beforehand. None of us know about that, right? Chugging caffeine or any of that. None of us know about those long days. I'm functioning off a 7 Brew right now. I don't know how, but somehow I'm functioning off of it. Shout out to 7 Brew and the cinnamon roll that they have on their lineup of things, but. A lot of fun moments during the year, a lot of great things, and now it comes to a bittersweet end, unfortunately, because 4 of the 5 people are graduating. Who knows where Hannah will be next year? Hopefully, still around with the women's team. Otherwise, Mia is going to be freaking out. But we'll go to give a chance for everybody to say their final farewells, shout outs, and all those things. We'll go down the line, and we'll start with you, Preston, on your final sentiments and shout outs as we head into the final chapter here. If it's a Baba Booey, I swear. He's building up the microphone, but
You got it.
You're just thinking about it.
Yeah.
I've just had such a great time on this podcast. I've had such a great time working with all of you guys, and I think I just had a really great time in general doing stuff, in Pelham, doing stuff in Jacksonville. It was really fun. I'm glad my eyes were opened up to the world of college hockey and just hockey as a whole. And I had a great time, learning about the levels between NCAA and ACHA and AAU and all that stuff. So it was an honor to be a part of, women's sports history here with the first year of the team and everything. And I would not have asked for any other way to be a part of it.
the fact that you didn't shout out your girlfriend, she's going to kill you if you don't say that right now. Make sure you shout her out.
Shout out to my beautiful, supportive girlfriend, Sarah Quinn, who is always there by my side and helps me through thick and thin.
There you go. It's anytime you have awards or honors, you make sure you shout out the family and the partners and everything. So I saved him a little bit there. Sarah, you're welcome. Anyways, Will Mauro, your final sentiments.
I've got a few shout outs. Obviously, Mom and Dad, I know you guys are following my career pretty closely. I appreciate you always being my biggest fans, and I would not be here without y'all. I also, of course, want to thank Spencer for taking every chance on me, and CHS Commissioner Kyle Nell for taking every chance on me, and James Shannon for letting me step up with 8-man and all of that. I'm remembering a quote from that first NSMA convention that we attended together, where I got the pleasure of meeting Kate Aitchison here, and we became colleagues. And Jason Stark, he's a MLB writer, and he said something to the effect of, "Our little victories as people are harder to come by, but theirs as athletes aren't." And that's our job in sports media, is to amplify their little victories so that our day-to-day victories feel a little bit bigger. And it's been an honor to be able to do that for this women's team, for CHS, for all of these amazing programs. Thank you for letting me tell your story. Thank you for letting us tell your story.
We joked about the waterworks before, and that's a little emotional joke around that stuff. That's powerful.
I'm feeling it too, Spencer.
Yeah. Kate, your chance to give your final send-off.
Well, I'm gonna start by hopping off of Will's lineup. We've had the opportunity to work together on nearly everything we've done. I'm so grateful for not only everyone Will mentioned, but also Will himself and Spencer Tomsett. They've taken, like he said, every chance on me. I'm grateful for Spencer for going out of his ways to not only give me these opportunities, but create these opportunities. Spencer's been behind a lot of the hard work, making all of this work and giving himself opportunities, but all of us, and I'm incredibly grateful. I'm also grateful for the whole women's team. I specifically, Savannah Prefontaine, Mia Perez, Kiera, Morgan, all of them have just made such an effort. Even, like, they comment on my Instagram posts, they're liking everything, they're reposting, they always stop and talk to me, they always thank us for what we do, and I'm incredibly grateful for the opportunity and the family that I've been able to be a part of to tell these incredible athlete stories. I'll always remember this. I will always love Alabama hockey. I'll always love Alabama, and I will talk about this well into my career. And as I'm making those first strides, I'll speak very highly of everything I learned. And just signing off one final time, Kate Aitchison.
Yeah, there's no media without the players and the coaches and the people that we get to cover throughout this whole thing. And it's definitely not unnoticed when you have people who are appreciative of what you do. It's noticed when you have people who don't appreciate what you do on the other side as well. But that the latter has never been the case. It's always been the former with the players and coaches who have been very grateful for the work we've been able to do and letting us have an insight into their little world and such. So, Hannah.
First of all, like Will said, like my family was my biggest supporters from this dream I had since I was 12, inspired by Erin Andrews and Tracy Wolfson. I never would have thought that I could have actually turned it into learning about this industry and now hopefully able to pursue a career in the future, but also thanking Mia Perez and Savannah Prefontaine for me just taking that chance and having that opportunity to be the first ringside reporter for this team and in the inaugural season, but also Spencer for just texting me one day and being like, hey, you want to like co-host a podcast? And I will never forget this like first season doing this all together and learning from some of the best people in the industry and just being able to have this community now. When you see anyone from any of the teams, whether they're on the team, they coach the team, or they work for the team on campus, it's always just a friendly hi, hello, how are you? Like, it's just a community that I never could have imagined that I would become a part of coming to Alabama, and now it's something that I'm forever going to be grateful for and will stay connected with these people for years to come.
There's a long list of people I have to thank, but I'm not going to list every single name because we'd be here forever. But certainly my family, my parents have been the most supportive in my journey and the things that I've tried to accomplish as well. I've been outspoken about this on each of the broadcasts I've been able to do, but Savannah Prefontaine for taking a chance on me, as well as the original executives, Rachel Hooten and J.C. Lynn Conger, for their trust in me. And I guess the laughter I had with them on the Zoom interview worked because we're here, but the trust that they put in me to be the first voice and the support they've had behind the scenes in terms of starting the podcast, leading the media charge and everything, as well as Savannah for her trust of, hey, do you want to be assistant director of media, and being able to help with Tanaya Sanders, our director of media, who has been very supportive in the efforts that she's certainly had. And that, again, not just because she's on the other side of the camera, but Mia Perez is going to be fantastic as the next head of staff for the women's hockey team, and the amount of support, love, and care she's had for all of us behind the scenes and everything. It doesn't go unnoticed, and your hard work does not go unnoticed either. So thank you, Mia. I know you guys haven't heard about this, but officially announcing on the podcast, congratulations to our next head of media, Annie Soukalis, who's the next. She was not able to be here today. She had a class running over, but I got the chance to tell her last week because staff applications launched as we were recording this for the next year, and Annie has... you realize in moments like this, it's not about you, and it's about the people around you that have made you to what you are. And really none of this happens without Annie in the criticism she's given of the lighting, of the camera angles, her production side, and just her knowledge and her kindness throughout the year, and the amount of suggestions and feedback she's continued to give. And she is going to be incredible in the director's role and take the media side to the next heights. And I know she is just as excited as we were when we got to start this. And shout out to her. Also to Jaden Watson, our camera op, who I'm sure he'll be returning in some capacity next year. Not just the amount of opportunities he's gotten to achieve. I'm jealous that he was one of the last people to get a picture with Ben Herbstreit when Ben Herbstreit was on campus before his unfortunate passing, but got to work College Game Day and everything. But Jaden has been an absolute pleasure to work with as well. Certainly have to thank Anya Laxton, Britton Tebby, Nick Reniger, the coaching staff for Alabama for allowing us into their world, allowing us to have sort of access to the players and the conversations we've been able to have throughout the year, and just being media friendly, because there's a lot of coaches who want to just focus on where their feet are and focus on the task at hand, winning the games, but the availability they've given, the response to texts, even no matter what hours late at the night I've had in terms of getting lineups and changes and everything, has been very incredible to work with them and such. Working with the rest of Game Day Ops and all the other staff members that we've been able to have conversations with throughout the season has been just incredible, as well as on the road. Getting the emails I've sent to the you keep in mind as well, these are student organizations and they're student run for the most part. So getting to hear back from students almost instantly on roster changes, on lineups and updates from other people and the others that I've gotten to work with on the road, is also your work does not go unnoticed as well. Certainly have to be mindful of all the guests that we've been able to have on the show who have carved out their time and schedules and everything. I know that these four at the table have been praising to me, and I appreciate everything. But Hannah, on the social media side, you've been incredible in taking on that role and being, seeing from the days that you were my student in one of the classrooms and everything, for you to, continue to blossom into this great sports media professional. I always tell people that I have to work harder because there are so many great women and men in this industry that are going to work me out of a job. In essence, she's one of them. Kate, on the same sentiment too, the amount of great things you've been able to do over the last several years. I remember you were one of my first students when I started teaching here at the Capstone, and I think it's fair to say you've certainly come a long way from that point. But it's, being able to see you get your sideline debut and be able to work on so many different roles and everything has been incredibly fulfilling as well. Same with you, as we nickname him Free Willy. This guy is hockey knowledge off the charts, and being able to call games with him has been incredibly fulfilling. I know getting to call games with Eli on the football side, he's incredible. And getting to see Eli just he will take any role you give him, but taking a step back and saying, I don't know hockey, give it to Will. And he's very much, truthful in that. And as play-by-play guys, we get the privilege of working along such great analysts and getting to, if my job is great, if my analyst shines, and the analyst is the star, and Will very much shined throughout the CHS playoffs and the All-Star games and the games that got to work for. I appreciate it, man. And Preston, same with you. I know hockey was not your forte heading into the season, but I still remember that Buffalo Phil's conversation we had and getting to learn about your story and how you were trying to make it in the sports media industry, and you very much have. And I know that as you continue to go along, your opportunities are going to open up even more, and getting to see into your world and try to understand the twisted sense of humor that is Preston McAlhany has been incredibly fulfilling. And I certainly wish you all the best. And I leave you guys with leave all of you. I certainly have to thank the fans and those who have listened and given us criticism and comments and praise. All of you have made this worth it. I know, especially on the podcast side, it's when you're starting something, the amount of people who've reshared these podcasts and have been a part of it throughout the entire journey, it's difficult to launch something, and certainly if we don't have people praising it and talk about it. One of the most fulfilling things has been people asking us, can I come on the podcast? Can I do it? This is just a great job, and you guys do such great work. And when we get to hear that feedback, and there are people who are some begging more than others, but when you have people who are wanting to be a part of this, that makes it just so fulfilling, and I appreciate all that you guys have given us as we head into this final step and everything. And I leave you with this as the advice that I give to everybody. The three keystones to life are: build meaningful relationships, delay your gratification, and be kind in everything that you do. And I promise you, great things will happen. It's certainly, I'm living proof of that, because somehow, some way, I get to associate with not just you, the fans, but each of the amazing people that are in this room, when I still don't feel that I deserve it. But it is incredibly fulfilling. So That is all we have for season 1 of the Alabama Frozen Hour. Again, 4 of the 5 people on this desk will be graduating, so however this gets taken in the next direction is going to be incredible, but we are looking forward to seeing how this is fulfilled and how it goes along. But for now, this is the finale of the Alabama Frozen Hour. For Kate Aitchison, Hannah Alpern, Will Mauro, Preston McAlhany, our producer, Annie Sakalis, as well as Jaden Watson, Mia Perez, all of the hardworking men and women that have made this run so smoothly this year. I'm Spencer Tomsett saying so long from Reese 5 for All. For one final time, the Alabama Frozen Hour is concluded for season